Welcome back to TLDR's daily briefing for Wednesday the 30th of July 2025. In today's episode, we cover a shooting in New York, an earthquake in the Pacific, and the scrapping of a law prohibiting same-sex relations in St Lucia. But first, YouTube makes further gains against the UK's traditional media services. A new report by the UK's communication and media regulator, Ofcom, has revealed that YouTube is becoming the UK public's media service of choice when consuming content on their TV. According to Ofcom, YouTube is now the UK's second most watched media service on television, pulling ahead of ITV, while the BBC remains the most watched. Ofcom writes that younger adults, aged 16 to 34, are driving the trend, watching 18 minutes of YouTube a day on TV, while 1 in 5, or 20% of children aged 4 to 15, head straight to the app as soon as they turn the TV set on. Ofcom's strategy director, Ed Layton, said that scheduled TV is increasingly alien to younger viewers, with YouTube the first port of call for many when they pick up the TV remote. But YouTube's growth is not purely down to the younger generations, i.e. Gen Z and Gen Alpha. In fact, over 55s are now watching nearly double the amount of YouTube content on their TVs compared to the previous year, 11 minutes per day, up from just 6 minutes. Content on YouTube has also been evolving. According to Ofcom, half of YouTube's top trending videos now more closely resemble traditional TV, including long-form interviews and game shows, helping boost YouTube's growing position as a closer competitor of traditional TV services. Amid these changes, broadcasters are increasingly putting their own content on YouTube in an attempt to, quote, meet audiences in the online spaces where they increasingly spend their time. Broadcasters' on-demand services like BBC iPlayer have also seen a growth in views, but not enough to offset the decline in linear TV viewing. But whilst live TV is evidently in decline, specifically people spent 4% less time watching it in 2024 compared to the previous year, major TV moments still managed to pull in many millions of viewers. For example, nearly 20 million tuned into the Spain vs England Euro 2024 final, and nearly 17 million tuned into Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. You're listening to TLDR's Daily Briefing. If you want more explainers on what's happening in the world, then you should check out TLDR's other channels. Today, we released videos on why Belgium's Prime Minister thinks Belgium shouldn't exist, how Erdogan's crackdown backfired, the UK's new porn ban, and the latest episode of our World Leader Leaderboard podcast. You can find these videos linked in the description or show notes for this episode, or by searching for TLDR on YouTube or Nebula. On Monday evening, 27-year-old Shane Tamura entered a Manhattan office building armed with an AR-15 assault rifle, proceeded to open fire, killed 4 people and injured another before shooting himself dead. His intended target, as outlined in a note he reportedly left at the scene according to the Associated Press, appeared to be the National Football League, or NFL, whose offices were in the same building, although he picked the wrong floor. In the note, he describes having chronic traumatic encephalopathy, a brain injury linked to contact sports. He went on to accuse the NFL of hiding the risks of this and other brain issues in his note. The shooting has also reignited discussions surrounding gun regulations, with the incident illuminating the weakness of state-by-state restrictions, given the ease of transporting firearms across state boundaries. In other news, an 8.8 magnitude earthquake rocked Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, the strongest earthquake in the region in over 70 years. Tsunami warnings were issued across the Pacific, including in Hawaii, Chile, Japan, and elsewhere, with waves peaking at 5 meters in and around the region surrounding the earthquake. The closest city was Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, a city of 165,000, where shaking was documented for at least 3 minutes. The small Russian town of Severokurisk was also quite drastically damaged, as the shoreline was submerged, boats were swept away, and the port was partially flooded. The Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan also had to be evacuated, although there was no damage or injury reported. Other Japanese industrial sites were also evacuated, with a number of Nissan factories suspending operations. And finally, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the most powerful court in a number of Caribbean states and territories, has struck down a colonial-era law that criminalized gay sex. The court found that the so-called buggery and gross indecency laws were unconstitutional and thus have been struck down, in a move celebrated by LGBT+ activists. This comes after Barbados, Antigua and Barbuda, St Kitts and Nevis and Dominica have all, in the previous few years, either decriminalised or struck down laws that prohibited gay sex or other same-sex acts, all marks of progress in a conservative region which still largely prohibits same-sex relations, with enforcement rates varying nation by nation. That's all for today. We'll be back with you tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen. In the meantime, you can check out the latest episode of our podcast, The World Leader Leaderboard, where we discuss which heads of government are doing well and who's doing badly every week. You'll find the links in the podcast description. This was a TLDR news production hosted by Georgina Findlay, written by Rory Taylor and Gabe Kirkham-Joseph, and produced by Scarlett Watchorn. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again tomorrow.